Hey guys, and welcome to... So this is a very, very important video. This is actually going to be the start of a new series, and I'll add to this series every few weeks. So it's not going to be regularly updated, but that's because this is an important series, and this is going to be the first Wrestling Daze Hall of Fame entry. So WWE obviously opened their Hall of Fame with the Giant, Andre the Giant, in 1993. So it makes sense that the Wrestling Daze Hall of Fame opens up with a Giant as well. And in truth, this was the first name that came to mind when I thought about doing this as a series. This was the first person that I wanted to put into the Hall of Fame. And I'm sure you can appreciate this is a great honour for this individual to be receiving. So, you know, it gives me great pleasure to announce that the first wrestler that will be inducted into the Wrestling Daze Hall of Fame is the Ugandan giant, Kamala. Born James Harris in 1950 in Mississippi, Harris was trained by the likes of Percy Pringle, Terry Gordy, and Michael Hayes, and it wasn't really until he got to Mid-South Wrestling and was introduced to Jerry the King Lawler that his gimmick started to really come together. Lawler had this idea for a while, and well, the rest was history. The character and the gimmick of Kamala was born. The name Kamala comes from two sources. They were looking for, you know, authentic names, and in a journal, a Ugandan medical journal, they found a doctor by the name of Dr. Kamala. And also the capital city of Uganda is Kampala. And so the story goes that they kind of merged those two together to try and find an authentic name, came up with the name of Kamala. The character is very simple-minded, barefooted, walked around with a tribal mask and a spear. There was obviously face paint and body paint elements to the character as well. Didn't seem to be westernised in any way. Really was, you know, like a tribesman. Certainly at the start of the gimmick, they were saying that he'd used to have been a bodyguard for the president, the Ugandan president, Idi Amin. But this character was very much portrayed as vicious and as a cannibal. And I think actually on a Tuesday Night Titans episode, they kind of made out that he was eating a live chicken. Obviously it kept cutting away, so he wasn't. But yeah, this is kind of how this character was being portrayed in the early to mid 80s. One of Kamala's first feuds in the 80s in WWF was with Andre the Giant. They had some fantastic matches, including like a steel cage match, and they met several times at the likes of Madison Square Garden and whatnot. Famously, a fist fight actually broke out in the ring, a real fist fight, and it spilled into the backstage area. And Kamala Harris actually pulled a gun on Andre the Giant. Andre is reported to have said, you know, "I'm sorry, boss, sometimes I act without thinking." And Harris just said to him, you know, you might want to start thinking first then. And from that point, whenever Andre was around, the story goes that Kamala always had a loaded gun near or on his person. There are reports that he wrestled matches with a loaded gun in his tights, fearing an Andre the Giant retaliation. Further feuds would come, including Hulk Hogan in a series of title matches, Jake Snake Roberts as well. But really during the 80s, as well as these feuds with, you know, the biggest names the industry had, Kamala achieved great success when he was awarded the USWA Unified Heavyweight Championship 4 times. He won that in the mid to late 80s. For me though, the story of Kamala really starts hitting its stride when he returned to the WWF in 1992. At this point, he had Kim Chi and Harvey Wimpleman with him, and they really added to the character, the tribesman character. You know, Kim Chi was his kind of handler. This is how out of control this guy could be. He had to come to the ring with a handler as well as a manager, who was Harvey Wimpleman. But it was his feud in '92 with The Undertaker, and actually Kamala appears in the first ever coffin match, which obviously we know as casket matches now. That was Survivor Series 1992, and certainly that is the first time I can recall seeing Kamala. And really, you know, this is why he was the first name that came to mind when I was thinking about who I wanted to put into the Wrestling Daze Hall of Fame, because this was a character that was, or a guy who was so into his character. I absolutely fully believed this was a real life tribesman that had been found and was being handled and just didn't know better. You know, this was a wild man who would go wild in the ring, and he could end up eating his opponents. You know, they hailed him as a cannibal. As a kid, it is thrilling and terrifying to not know what this guy's going to do. He does not conform to normal rules, doesn't understand Western society. I absolutely fell in love with the Kamala character. I thought it was brilliant. I mean, not booked very well. I mean, he obviously came out as the loser in, you know, pretty much all of his feuds in the WWF, and, you know, didn't really pick up that many victories. But his dedication to the character, the impact that it had on me as a child, you know, everything, the look, the fact he had a handler, his music is still amongst my favourite ever entrance musics. I honestly could sit and listen to the Kamala entrance music as a piece on its own, because it's very tribal and it's very different. You know, there's nothing else that I've heard in WWF, WWE that's similar to the Kamala entrance music. Very atmospheric in the sense of, you know, as I say, it's the sounds of tribes going through what sound like ritual chants, and it's got great drum beat in the background. I'm sure you can tell by how I'm talking about it just how passionate I am about the Kamala character. It's absolutely right that he's the first name that goes into the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, after his feud with The Undertaker in '92, things go downhill very, very quickly. He was scheduled to appear at Royal Rumble in '93, and he doesn't. He was also scheduled to have a match at WrestleMania 9 against Bam Bam Bigelow, which I would have loved to have seen, but unfortunately that gets pulled at the last minute as well. So he's not in any of those cards. By the middle of '93, he's left WWF. He's on the indie scene a little bit, and, you know, really all throughout his career he goes in and out of the indie scene, you know, and gets success in the indie territories, but his success is very limited with WWF. In 1995, though, he signs with WCW. He's only there for a year, and he just feuds with Hulk Hogan a few times. It was, I think, Hulk that brought him into WCW. Obviously, they'd had their feuds in the 80s, and Kamala actually goes up, I think it's at like a Halloween Havoc, goes up against Hulk Hogan, obviously comes out on the losing end of things. And unfortunately, WCW don't really want to sign him to any kind of a contract. They just take him from pay-per-view to pay-per-view, and you know, it doesn't last. Since that point, his appearances have been very few and far between. He was in the Gimmick Battle Royal at WrestleMania 17, eliminated, I believe, by Sergeant Slaughter. He was also at Taboo Tuesday. I think he comes down to the ring with Eugene. And I know that he was part of like I think it was the Raw Divas search. He's done a few little bits here and there with WWE. Amazingly though, and for me this very much is the cherry on top of the cake. In 2006, Kamala has a match in Ring of Honor against Bryan Danielson for the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship. The match goes to a no contest, but Daniel Bryan actually in 2006 has a match against Kamala, which is stunning. I've never seen this match, but trust me when I say it's something I will be checking out as soon as I can. And in 2008, Kamala appears in TNA and is actually a guest at Jay Lethal's storyline wedding at the time. So he's been making little appearances. Disaster struck though, unfortunately, in 2011 and 2012. Kamala had been battling diabetes for a long time, and in 2011, 2012, unfortunately he has to have both of his legs amputated due to not having dialysis treatment, which he'd refused and turned down. There was a documentary, a very good documentary done. It's quite a short documentary, but it was done by Bleacher Report. You can find it on YouTube. I recommend you check it out. And I think it was done in 2014. Kamala's obviously in a wheelchair at that point, but he talks about the Andre incident with the gun, and talks about the struggles that he's having now. And it's a real, for such a man that was feared, that had such an impact on me, to see how kind of vulnerable and weak and kind of broken he's become. Very, very upsetting, but all the best, and honestly I mean this, all the best wishes, all the best support goes over to Kamala. Truly a great performer that will hopefully one day be recognised by WWE and be put into the WWE Hall of Fame. An honour that's not quite as impressive as the Wrestling Daze Hall of Fame, I'm sure you'll agree, but I'm sure he'll appreciate it nonetheless. Cool. Well, the final thing to do is to just read out the list of accomplishments that Kamala achieved. So he was the AWA Southern Heavyweight Champion, GLWA Heavyweight Champion. He was the NWA Mississippi Heavyweight Champion. He was the IWA US Heavyweight Champion. He was the IWA Tag Team Champion with Buddy Wolf. He was the NWA Tri-State Tag Team Champion. He was the NWA Southeastern Heavyweight Champion. PWI ranked him as the 14th best wrestler since they had been going, which is a real accomplishment, because they've been going for some time. So to come out 14th, that was in 1993, granted, but still big achievement. The SXW Hardcore Champion, he's in the Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame. Again, not quite as great as the Wrestling Days Hall of Fame, but I'm sure he was very appreciative. And the USWA Unified World Heavyweight Champion as well, 4 times, as we said. If you're going to go back and watch some Kamala matches, then obviously the Bryan Danielson match in Ring of Honor in 2006. I can tell you he has a fantastic match against Yokozuna on Raw in 1993. The Andre the Giant Steel Cage match from 1984, definitely worth a watch. And then for me, the Undertaker match at Survivor Series 92, that's really what got me into the character and the man of Kamala. Cool. So congratulations to Kamala, the first inductee into the Wrestling Days Hall of Fame. If there's someone that you would like to see get inducted in the future, then drop it in the comments below. If they get enough votes, then they they just might get inducted. But yeah, I want to honour those people that really embraced their characters. They don't have to win all their matches or anything like that, but did they embrace their characters? Did they make you really believe that they were who they were portraying? Did you feel entertained when you watched their matches? And no shadow of a doubt, Kamala, lived and breathed his character. Thanks a lot for watching, really do appreciate it. Don't forget you can follow me on Twitter at Wrestling Days UK. If you haven't subscribed, it'd be great if you did, because I've got loads more videos on the way. And congratulations, Kamala. Thank you, Kamala. and hopefully I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.